yourself in and get ready. The leaders in NBL Supercoach are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Matrix and Hammer.
Hello and welcome back to the Insight NBL Show. It's Wednesday. It's our preview show. If you want the review, we did that back on Monday. It's actually my fourth podcast this week among doing a few different sports this week, Hammer. How are you going?
You must be very popular at home.
Yeah. I am actually. My wife doesn't like spending time with me, but mate, round 6 is upon us. It's a very interesting week. There's a lot going on, isn't there?
There's heaps. It feels like another pivotal week before the schedule heads off in another direction, and we get a whole heap of teams starting to go on their string of doubles. So big decisions to make.
Mate, let's get stuck into it. I'll just let everyone know on today's show, we got the squeeze of the week. We're going to go through our injury report. We've got some boost chat. We've got the game previews. We're going to go through some popular trades, captain talk. Get your questions in along the way. We'll answer all the good ones. Mate, this is a huge week. We've got the Hawks and Cairns on doubles. We have the Kings and Breakers on doubles, and we've got both Melbourne teams on the triple-double. It's absolutely huge. How are you attacking this?
Look, I feel like this is a real opportunity to stack your squad with some guys and premium guys that you're going to hang on to for a while. And I think the next pivot after this comes with the 5 consecutive doubles with Perth, which look, there's a few implications there with injury we'll talk about later, but I'm really trying to have probably my strongest starting 5 of the year for this round.
Yeah, I love it. Whether that be through boost or not, it depends how well you were set, but I suppose it gives some blokes, like I held some Cairns players in preparation for this week. Thank you. It's an absolute banger. Whisperer bought it for me. But look, Hawks and Cairns, there's some guys that you've probably been able to hold on to. I just think there's a smorgasbord of players, and if you can get them right this week, this is probably moving week. That's just how I feel about it, because not everybody's going to have the same guys.
No, not at all. But I do feel like there's going to be a lot of teams that have 8, 9, 10 guys on doubles. So we're going to see some massive scores this week. I would not be surprised if we're seeing scores well up in the 500s.
Yeah, I've seen some squads that are going to have 9 players on doubles this week, and then looking forward to the next 2 weeks, possibly having 10 players on doubles. So that's going to be huge.
Yeah, really good chance over the next couple of weeks if you can nail round 6 to start to tinker with your bench and really look at this as probably, sets of 2 to 3 weeks at a time and really get some consistency with some really good guys.
Mate, look, let's get some housekeeping out of the way, which is always exciting for the listeners. And let's have a chat about our squeeze of the week. Look, Standard Squeeze give away about $50 worth of prizes every week to our listeners. Honestly, outside of the Supercoach prize, as far as I can see, this is the best weekly prize in Supercoach. So get into our squad. We'll post that later on. It's not too late to join. And if you do want some of Standard Squeeze products, I'm sitting here using a 4-in-1. I've got all the products over my shoulder over there that you can use to pour the perfect nip. Take all your grog to festivals. I've got the one that does the slimline can in there behind me. Comes in plenty of different colors. But Ethan has scored either a 4-in-1 or a squeeze pack. Now, Ethan, coach of Ty Brycus, had 433 with a huge score. He had Parker Jackson Cartwright and Cooks. He had Mooney, Magnay, and had Wardenberg and Hickey off the bench. He was absolutely cooking, and that actually takes him to first overall for our whole competition at the moment. So not just do you win Team of the Week, you're the current leader, and slide into our DMs and get your prize pack.
For sure. That's a massive score. And look, there was a lot of chat on the socials this week between a lot of other super coaches that the overall winner this week may have actually just created the team for this week. You see that chat?
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, for these guys to actually be smacking out some massive scores, getting the squeeze of the week, that's probably, well up there. I don't think any of these ones that won the actual prizes were legit teams.
I've actually seen in NRL that when they've had a look at the history, they've actually not given it to those teams that are made like that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Oh, Supercoach with DR in the DMs. Thanks, mate. Thanks for popping on and watching. And yeah, the standard squeeze do make some quality stuff. So, Supercoach with DR, very big in the AFL scene. But Hammer, let's head into the injury update.
Oh, I haven't seen that one before. That's a classic. Hey, mate, this is long. This list is enormous. Look, we all watched the game with Cotton. He went down about 2.5 minutes in, which is going to really affect his Supercoach scores. But he's done his ribs, went straight to hospital from the game. He's out at least a month. So, look, with Perth coming into 5 straight doubles, this is going to affect some of the longer term plans Supercoach had. Look, it's going to open up the door for anyone holding Henschel. It's going to open up the door for anyone considering Ty Webster. Look, Ty's sub 200K. He's cheaper than Tanner or Taron Armstrong. Would you consider him?
I am. I'm not
Mhm.
considering him this week.
No.
But I want another look to make sure it wasn't just a flash in the pan, to make sure that with a week's preparation, it's not Benchel or Pepper's team or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think Ty Webster will be the starting point guard. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to wait a week, but a definite downgrade option for some of these guys that are going off some doubles. So.
For sure. And we know in the past when Ty's been the man. Like you think back to his time in New Zealand, he was a walking bucket. He was a pretty solid Supercoach player. So maybe out of the shadows of Cotton, he could be a look. Look, moving on with the injury report, we know Shea Illy's out for this round with a predicted return of round 7. He's got a calf injury and is also expecting a kid. Him and Delhi, kids within a week of each other. Must have been something happening 9 months ago in Melbourne. Derek Walton Jr., you talked about this one on Monday night. He's out with a hammy, 3 to 4 weeks. November 10, we're looking for a return. You got some thoughts on this one?
Mate, I could have worn my Sobe jersey, but it's just a bit tight. I've had a big off season
Blowout.
on the puss, but especially after a forfeit in basketball in my 5 minutes last week, I've played about 5 minutes basketball, and that's 5 minutes of exercise for those of you playing at home in 2 weeks. But Sobe looks to be the starting point guard. We hate the new coach coming in and thinking there might be a different mentality, but right now, Sobe's averaging like 32 Supercoach points without Derek Walton Jr. in the team. He is at a ripe 250K, playing 6 games in the next 3 weeks. If any of this isn't a sign, I don't know what is.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, New Zealand has a few injury concerns. Mitch McCarron, he's got a knee complaint, will be sitting out versus Southeast Melbourne. Mo King, quad complaint, sitting out that game also. And the guy we've been looking at carefully for the last few weeks, Kareem Lopez, he's going to be a game day fitness test in this one. You got any thoughts surrounding these guys?
I mean, I would have a lot of thoughts about Kareem Lopez if they just started saying, hey, he's in this week. He would probably be in my team, to be completely honest. But I can't risk that 0. It hurt me so much last week having Shea Illy on the 0. I thought I was being clever holding him till the singles and just being okay to have that cash there. It's probably cost me a boost, and I'm not willing to risk, somebody like Kareem Lopez or Taron Armstrong on this costing me a boost again in the future. So, look, Kareem Lopez would have been very excited about last week, would have been pretty excited about him this week. Heading into a double-double next week, I just don't think it's enough to warrant getting him in.
Yeah. Keep in mind, though, they do play the first game of the round, so you may have a chance to, tinker with your squad last minute. Hey, the only other two injury concerns which we knew about were Tanner Groves, Taron Armstrong. They remain out for the Cairns Taipans.
Yeah, which hurts. Like, this is a week where it would have been really lovely to get Taron Armstrong in. I wonder if a lot of people are going to miss the boat on him not in, and we always risk them easing him in and him not getting those that cash generation. Yeah, I
In
actually
saying
just
that,
hate the
though,
whole situation there.
the Cairns schedule goes to shit after this. So it's the one
Yeah,
double into a hybrid singles. If you're putting them side by side now, Taron versus Ty Webster, Webster going on a single into 5 doubles, I'm probably leaning towards the Wildcat.
yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards the Wildcat. Mate, look, does any of this scream boost this week? Just to get it out before we get into the team tracker, what are you thinking?
Look, I'm not opposed to a boost, and I'm so not opposed to the boost that I boosted. But I don't think I'd be boosting if I was in your position where it's going to be my third boost. This will be my second boost. I'd always planned to boost this week. Well, actually, I planned to boost last week and didn't end up doing it. So I think I'm right on track with my boosts. I feel like I need that to get that squad to have 5 really playable guys on the court. Look, I know some guys are boosting for Cooks. You're boosting to captain him when you have PJC. What are you doing with that? I don't know. But look, I don't think it's worth boosting if you've already used 2. That's just where I sit on it. What do you reckon?
I think if it gets you a couple of these other elite guys, like I'm thinking Sobe at his current price could have 100K worth of value. When I think of that, I think that that's a trade that's boost worthy. Xavier Cooks is a funny one. Matt Hertz is one heading into
Mm.
a lot of doubles in a row, but I'm considering him as points. He's not going to make a lot of money. I'm not seeing a cash cow that's really worth boosting down to facilitate these trades, and that's where it's getting a little awkward for me. I'm just in a little bit of a funny spot where I'm stacked at guard. I'm not that stacked at forward, and if I want guys on doubles, I'm nearly going to have to boost.
Yeah. So I think the question comes down to, for anyone in your position, is you use your third boost now. You've got 1 left. I mean, 1 left for, what are we now, round 6? It's a long way to run.
It is. It is. Look, let's just duck in and have a look at some of these games, and maybe that'll give us some clarity, I suppose.
Hmm.
He's heating up.
Mate, very Supercoach relevant. This one, for those in Queensland, 4:30 p.m. New Zealand versus Southeast Melbourne, and I tell you what, there's nothing better on a Thursday than still being at work while the basketball's on.
Yeah, perfect. Look, like we said before, first game of the round, a few injury concerns. You do get that luxury to tinker last minute. Look, the outs for New Zealand, I see as really positive. No Macca, no Mo King. They've tended to be the backups at the 1 and 2. This is just screaming 40 minutes to PJC and 40 minutes to Matt Mooney to me.
And who are Southeast Melbourne going to use to defend Parker Jackson Cartwright? Like, it's going to be big.
It's going to have to be Sobey.
Yeah, which isn't elite.
And then you probably go down to Glover, you go down to Kenyon. But, like, I was talking to you off air about this one, mate. A new coach comes in and he looks around that huddle at training. Now, I don't even know if he's going to be here this week, but he comes in, he looks around that huddle and he thinks, well, I don't know these guys too well. I'm going to be a bit conservative and play the ones who look like they can play. There's some guys on this team that don't pass the eye test. Like, you can't tell me you're coming in as a new coach. You don't know these guys from a bar of soap. You're going to look at Owen Foxwell and think you're actually on this team. Like, mate, this kid's a fetus. He hasn't even hit puberty. You're not going to be playing him, and that's my concern. Like he's a downgrade with as a bench cheapie with Derek Walton out, but I feel like he could easily be the casualty of the eye test when this new coach comes in.
Yeah, you're probably not giving him a run. I think you're going to your veteran in Sobey, and like where we're talking about, it's looking
Yeah.
like Parker Jackson Cartwright could play at 40. Honestly, it looks like Sobey could play 40 as well.
And you'd imagine this new coach comes in and he's going to lean heavily on McKinnon, be in his ear, who's who. And we know McKinnon is obsessed with Sobey. We saw the turnaround in his performance last week. I think Sobey's a safe bet. And I love that you're all in on him. I just can't stomach having him in my squad. I don't like the guy.
No, that's fair. Look, anywhere else there, I start to get in some start sit situations with blokes like Menenga, and
Yep.
maybe segueing into the next one because we can have a chat about Malik Lewis in the next Southeast Melbourne team. But Menenga or blokes like Lockie Ulbrich, I have a real question mark if you don't boost and you have to start sit some of these guys.
Mm.
I honestly have no idea. It could be the hardest question.
It sounds like one of the filthiest would you rathers that I've ever come across. And I've come across some dirty, dirty ones, Matrix.
I know. Mate, not much else for me to talk about there, but Illawarra versus Melbourne. If you did want to stream for some pods, Illawarra could be up there this week. There's going to be a lot of teams that aren't looking at Illawarra due to the fact that they're just playing the single double game week. I don't know. There's a lot of adjectives there.
It's a 1 week rental if you go into the Hawks.
Yeah, and Days is one I'd look at, but he's looked a bit off maybe the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he has found himself in some foul trouble. And it depends if you're looking at guard or at forward. Like Trey Kell, he's having a career year. He's only really had 1 or 2 down games. He's been elite.
I think Kell would be a guy that's in everybody's teams if the schedule were not that good. But like, what's
and it took us a while to figure it out.
Yeah, he's averaging 30, 36 in his last 5, and he's got a break even of 59. You're not doing it for cash generation. My problem is the same as what you said with Cooks. I'd love to get one of these guys in as a 1 week rental and get that sort of thing on, but we're captaining Parker Jackson Cartwright again, aren't we? The guy's been the best man in Supercoach. So whatever you're getting, you're not getting that double boost or whatever you want to call it. You're not getting the double bump. So that's making me want to stay away from Illawarra players as much as I wish the schedule was better because I love watching Illawarra play.
Yeah. And I think all of us watching Illawarra play right now are hoping some of these guys, like Darius Days is one of them who's had a couple of down weeks. We're hoping that price just stays affordable for when they come home with that wet sail and we have that really good run towards the end of the year.
Mate, Melbourne, on the other hand, very Supercoach relevant. I mean, we talked about Illy being so good when Delhi's out. Now we've got the situation with Illy out, and Delhi was the highest scorer.
Yep.
He's a primo price, and again, we're captaining Parker Jackson Cartwright. I can't get my head around bringing in Delhi when there's blokes like Sobey there.
What's the price on Delhi?
310.
All right, so 310 versus
went down 7K.
Yeah, 310 versus 297 for Matt Mooney, who is leading the league in scoring. Coming off a game where he's hit 7 threes. We've been really high on him and has an elite schedule. Or your boy Nathan Sobey, 250K, has had an absolutely horrendous year, but we are somehow, if we squint really hard and tilt the screen to the left, seeing some signs of life with a new coach and a new opportunity. So there's 3 elite options to put beside PJC. Why don't you rank them 1 to 3?
I mean, I think that Matt Mooney is a great guy to bring in, but I think value-wise, I think you can make 100K out of Sobey. I don't think Matt Mooney's a 400K player. So I am still going to bring in Mooney I think he's going to outscore Sobey this week, but I think Sobey's a better buy over the next 3 weeks with Derek Walton Jr. out.
Yeah.
And and then Delhi being 300K as well. You said it last week, and you said it really well. And I don't give you too many pats on the
I like
back,
where this is going.
but Delhi isn't as affected by Illy being out as Illy is affected by Delhi being on the court. And when I went back and actually thought about that, it's right. Like Delhi's going to get his, but he's kind of at value. I think that he's really good this week, but we're not going to see that growth. I think you get opportunity to have a little bit of growth out of Matt Mooney and make some money before you trade him out in a couple weeks. I think you've got the opportunity to make a lot of money out of Sobey, whereas maybe he doesn't even score as many as the other guys. But I think Delhi is what Delhi is, and he's a 300K player that'll fluctuate between 270 and 330K all year. Not a bad buy, but just meh.
And I think the other thing you got to factor in is, to quote the great man himself, sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save. Not you save, what you spend, something like that. By going to Nathan Sobey, you're saving yourself 50K. Is that the difference, if you so wish, between Matt Hurt and Xavier Cooks?
Yeah, it is.
You know, if you take it as an average of 2 players, is it better going Sobey and Cooks, or is it better going a Mooney or a Delhi and a Hurt? I think you need to weigh it up over both trades.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a lot of good chat, and that's why I think this week is going to sort the boys from the men. I think, or you're going to make one decision that's going to be huge, because honestly, our teams are all about to look very different. If you add Sobey and Matt Hurt score, or if you add Sobey and Xavier Cook score, or Matt Hurt score and Delhi score, who do you think is going to score the most? And I think if you ask 10 Supercoach fans, you're going to get 10 different answers.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's not just this week, because these squads are probably what we're intending to have pretty much for the next few weeks. You know, a lot of these guys you can hold semi-long term.
Yep, I agree with you. We'll tackle some of the forwards and the centers from Melbourne in the next game. Adelaide versus Cairns. Look, the Adelaide players have been absolute stalwarts of our team. I will tune in, and I probably won't even look at the Supercoach app for this one. I'm just excited to see what Kendrick Davis can produce, Jarrell Martin working his way back in, and Montrezl Harrell. I just love watching him play. I think Montrezl Harrell could absolutely rip the Cairns Taipans to shreds.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I don't think he's going to be in too many squads now. A lot of that cash is being used to free up some cap space for your Cooks and your Hurts and people like that. But man, they're fun to watch, the 36ers. I think they're quickly becoming everyone's second favorite team.
I mean, they're Adelaide, so they might have always been everybody's second favorite team. But they've never been anyone's first favorite team. But Cairns are on a double as well this week. I know I've been a lot higher on Rob Edwards than you've been, but the two probably most relevant Taipans are Rob Edwards and Sam Wardenberg. What's your opinion on... Well, let's go Rob Edwards and I'll answer Sam Wardenberg, because that's not usually the way we do it.
Okay. I still don't like Rob Edwards. I think... Look, and I don't know why it is, because he's still been scoring reasonably well, but it's laboured. Like, I feel like every time I watch it, I'm getting to like quarter time, I'm like, ha, I was right. Shouldn't have picked this guy. He's a bum. He's got like -4 Supercoach points. He ends up with 30. But look, I think he's solid, but he's not spectacular. There is a very low ceiling, and it's probably like 35, but the floor seems to be pretty high. At that price, though, he's not really making a lot of cash. He's not producing a hell of a lot of points when you put him next to some of these premium guys we've talked about. If you got him, possibly a hold if you're doing work elsewhere on your squad, but I certainly wouldn't be bringing him in.
And I feel the same about Sam Wardenberg in a lot of the ways that you're saying this. They've both got a 46 break even. Am I bringing in Sam Wardenberg? No. I think that he's a guy that has a very high ceiling, but a very low floor, kind of the
Yep.
opposite to Rob Edwards in that way. And they've both averaged their late 20 Supercoach points basically exactly the same way. But you're not bringing them in, but they're probably worth a hold on a double this week. And I just wanted to steer everybody away from cans. Let's not get too spicy about bringing these guys in. I'm presume you're going to be holding Sam Wardenberg, and we save our final teams for our Patreon. There's your plugs, guys. But Rob Edwards is a guy that I'll be holding. I presume Sam Wardenberg's a bloke that you're going to be holding, but they're probably our first out this week, and we're just hoping that they can hit their 46 break even, which I think they'll both do comfortably.
Yeah, look, I think Wardenberg is probably priced around that 23 a game. He has that flexibility between forward and center, which is allowing me not to play Menenga. For me, it came down to a choice: do I start Wardenberg or Menenga? And I've gone with Wardenberg. I think there's more upside, and they're going to need him. They're coming up against a team in Adelaide that has some serious size, and they're going to be throwing bodies where it's AK Gack or Wardenberg, or after that, you're sort of scraping the barrel for anything over about 6'6". So, look, the opportunity is going to be there, and they're probably going to try and stretch the floor with him and try and make Montrez come out and guard him on the perimeter. So, look, I think he can't guard Montrez, no way, but I think Montrez is probably going to have a hard time chasing him around the perimeter also.
Mate, Perth versus Sydney. This is the only game that we've got to chat about Perth. This guard rotation, I just want one more week to look at it. I don't consider it a fantastic matchup regardless. If Ty Webster gets the bulk of the minutes at point guard, I think that he's my guy next week. I think they'll be put to the sword by Sydney in this one. Sydney have been too good. I have heard by some gentlemen in the chat, so not look, I don't have sources on this, but the Jalen Adams 50-50 on this one as well. Maybe they use this to give him a rest as well. I would love to bring in a 300k Jalen Adams with 4 games in 2 weeks. But again, I'm not going to lose my week and lose all this cash and lose the opportunity to score well on the chance that this guy plays. I don't think the upside's really there enough.
There's enough doubt surrounding him just with the rumors flying around. And I think the difference is that this week, as opposed to the other weeks we got caught with him, is there's other options. And there's options next week. I don't see myself bringing him in. I would love if he did drop to 300k because he may be a look at a later point. But I think PJC's a lock. So we're only talking about one guard position here. And at 300k, you've got your Matt Moonies, you've got your Sobies, you've got your Matthew Dellavedovas. And then next week, you got Doyle, who's dropped to 300k. The Jack Jumpers playing 36, 37 minutes a game. Not that they've been great, but he's due. I think there's so many options that you don't need to look at Adams. And the only reason you'd be playing him is if you held him, right?
Yeah. This is absolutely true. I've got an interesting one. I want to give you a bit of look into my life. I drive half an hour to work every day, and I have shit mates, Hammer. So I have mates that will call me for personal NBL Supercoach advice. They don't start with, mate, how are you? How are you feeling? What have you got on today? They're asking me about my Supercoach trades. And obviously they don't listen to the podcast, otherwise they wouldn't need to call me. But an interesting one that come out today was Cam Oliver. Now, with the price that he is, it was allowing them to go absolutely primo at another position. So they were going down from somebody to Cam Oliver and then up to another guy. So they were downgrading, which I think's madness considering how high we were on. They were downgrading to Cam Oliver, and I think it was the sort of situation that they weren't going to have to play Menenga at center as well. What do you think about bringing in Cam Oliver with a break even of 60 with 4 games in 2 weeks?
See, I've just gotten rid of Oliver with 4 games in 2 weeks coming up. I'm done with him. And it's so hard because we were so high on how well he played in the preseason.
So
His
hard.
points per minute was elite. But I feel like we can't trust Brian Gorgian. I feel the role is inconsistent. I feel like his body language is now at a point where he doesn't know what he's getting each game, and he's just coming out and I'm going to be out for 2 minutes. I'm going to play 10 minutes this game. I don't think you can touch him. I think right now he's in a funk and he's not getting out of it. I don't like it. I would not be bringing him in.
No, that's fair. I think that's what I said.
Would you bring him in?
But am I bringing him in?
No, would you bring him in? What did you tell your mate?
I said that I would be looking elsewhere except for Cam Oliver. I think I said use your jewels and get Nathan Sobey for 256 instead of...
Talking Cam Oliver, here's one that's popped up in the chat. Logan and Gove. Who scores more this week? Oliver on a double or your big boy Montrez Harrell on a single?
Still Oliver for me. I think that Oliver can get 23 twice, and I think Harrell will probably get 40.
You don't think Oliver's going to dish up another stinking 10 like he did last game?
I don't think so. I think that they're going to be kind of blowing Perth out a little bit, and Oliver might get some run and Cooks might get a bit of a rest. And I think that they will score very well. I think Oliver's maybe a better matchup against blokes like Menenga in the forward spot against New Zealand. I think he might play on matchup a little bit. So,
yeah, good.
Also, Perth, and maybe it's giving us a little bit of a snapshot towards next week. Doolittle and Pinder. So Pinder is at his lowest price ever in the last couple years, and Doolittle has been absolutely cooking. And in all fairness, is probably the reason that Pinder is so cheap. I've never seen Pinder at $2.99. Someone can correct me in the chat. Next week when they go on 5 doubles, are these guys targets for you?
Doolittle is must own for me next week. I had a look at bringing him in this week and just holding him, but I won't. But yeah, definitely next week. That's going to be my plan. It's probably a downgrade, a get rid of Wardenberg and then downgrade something on the bench, maybe a Lockie Aldrich or something like that. I really, really want Doolittle, and he's got a low break even, which is not great for me because he'll probably go up in price. But yeah, look, he's huge. Pinder for me, not so much. I think he's well overpriced. He's had a shocking year outside of game 1 where he hit like 5 threes and he's lost. They need him and he hasn't been showing up.
Mate, Southeast Melbourne versus Illawarra down at John Cain Arena. There actually hasn't been that much movement for these Southeast Melbourne teams over the next couple of weeks. There's a lot of games in Melbourne. If you're a basketball fan, you could probably watch 6 games in the next 3 weeks. But Southeast Melbourne playing Illawarra, I start to look at matchups, and I'm just trying to talk myself into Lockie Aldrich as a startable player this week. And
tough conversation.
I think maybe against Southeast Melbourne, they might get up enough that they can play Lockie Aldrich a little bit. But I think against Melbourne, I don't think Lockie Aldrich is going to get a lot of burn. So I'm kind of sitting on the fence.
Yeah, look, I'm not excited about him, but I'm not, that unexcited. I'm going to try and get him out this week. But I think next week I'm going to have some luxury trades, and he's a target to get rid of. I think when you talk about the cash cows out at Illawarra, they're coming into a horrible schedule after this week. Hickey's the one you want to keep for a couple more weeks. His break-even's a lot better. He's been showing promise, whereas Aldrich started the season cooking. And we said Hickey struggled. I think it's flipped. And right now, Aldrich is the one to get out.
No, I agree. Southeast Melbourne, we talked so much about the guards and the guard rotation when we covered their first game, mate. But when we have a look at their forwards, someone like Malik Lewis, it was 120K last week, went up 30K this week, I'm going to make an assumption there, has a break even of 15 on a double game week. So should theoretically by
Could
his
do.
averages, make another 20 or 30K this week. I don't think it's boost worthy, but if it allows you to do another gun trade or another trade, I think there's merit to going a Lepepe or somebody like that down to Lewis if it funds one of your other better trades.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't be doing it just to get Malik Lewis in, but if you're downgrading, he's a lot better than some of the other options you could have. Like, he's going to score more than a Max Darling, who we covered in Fool's Gold on Monday night. I really like his game, but once again, new coach. How's he feel about the kid? We don't know, but look, if he's been watching the last couple of weeks since he got the call that he's coming to Southeast Melbourne, he would have liked what he saw. We did.
Like, I was surprised, and I did the NBA show this week, and today was the NBA opener. I'm super excited for the NBA season. It's all basketball. I'm an absolute sports freak when it comes to that. But I was surprised when I had a look at how talented he is, and the fact that he was sitting at 60 or 70 on draft boards. I expected, once I saw his game, like, to open it up and see him as a first round guy. And I think that he can be a first round NBA guy if he keeps this trajectory going. Like, we saw AJ Johnson get picked up at 23 last year. Malik Lewis, in my opinion, has a better outlook than AJ Johnson.
You know what? I don't even try and think about it anymore because I see guys like AJ Johnson shoot up that draft board ahead of guys like Huck Porty, who dominated in this league, and he gets picked with the last pick. I can't figure out what they want. You know, when they're drafting on potential, maybe we just pick the lankiest, longest kid who can, jump around, has a little bounce. But look, I like Malik Lewis. Of all the next stars we've had over the last few years, I think he's actually going to be one of the ones who can actually contribute in the NBL. You know, outside of your LaMelo balls and stuff. But look, he's been better than a lot of the ones we've had.
I'll I'll give you a bit of a random stat, and I know that you wouldn't have watched it because you work a bit harder than me at work. But Ariel Huckporty made his NBA debut today,
Hmm.
and got 4 rebounds and 1 block in 6 minutes against the Celtics. But look back at this block. If you have some time, yeah, it'll be in the highlights anyway. If you watch like the little KO mini or whatever,
Yeah.
Huckporty did this absolute ripper block today. And with the injury to Mitchell Robinson, I think Huckporty can really, I think he can play a fair bit this year for this elite Knicks team. They're a bit shallow, so I'm excited to see Huckporty again play this year. Whereas NBL
Right.
fans, we aren't getting the opportunity to anymore.
Perfect.
Mate, Brisbane versus Tassie.
Yep.
Look, the only team outside of Brisbane versus Southeast Melbourne that I called the toilet bowl last week is probably this, and it could be shit. I do think it's probably pretty good for Magnay and Harrison. They are mates. They come through about the same
Yep.
time, but we've sort of made a correlation with Harrison playing against genuine bigs, and you don't get more of a genuine big than Magnay. I think that they'll be going for blocks. I think that they will get really involved, and this game will be played inside. I'm not excited about much else for either team except for Casey Prather's trajectory money-wise, but
Yep.
these two guys are guys that you could probably keep on a single in a pinch.
Yeah, look, Tassie, the only thing that you'd really be considering here is they have back-to-back doubles after this round. Who will we look at? Look, Magnay scored in the 20s more often than he hasn't. He's been so underwhelming this year, and I think we get a bit blinded by some big plays. Like, he has some statement plays, some big blocks, a couple of dunks, but then you look at the score and it's like 27, 29. It's not that premium sort of performance that you're after. Milton Doyle, he's playing 37, 38 minutes a game. Last week, he seemed to put it together Supercoach score wise, but his actual games were still a struggle. Look, outside of those two, there's not a lot to look at. Um, I'm not even excited about watching my Jack Jumpers outside of Supercoach now. That they're really struggling, man. It's hard to
So,
watch.
so we live up near Brisbane, and I think every year you and I have at least chatted about going to the Bullets first Jack Jumpers game.
Yeah,
It's been radio silence. I didn't even realize this one was on. That's how much I care about both these teams at the moment.
yeah. I've been to the last 2 years. I knew this was on, and I didn't even bother. It's it's been trash. Look, Brisbane's probably the only one because we know they come to a really long stretch of doubles. It's around 8, round 9, something like that.
9.
We're getting close to that point. All right. So, look, I'm keeping a real eye on Harrison. Prather's another one. Bannon's starting to show some form. So I think where this may be relevant is you're starting to form your watch list and when you can make that move on Brizzy.
I just glossed over something a bit earlier, and it was Angus Glover. Before we head into Sydney and New Zealand, I just want to rewind a little bit. Angus Glover, with Derek Walton Jr. out, I expect will be in the starting lineup. He has been extremely poor this year, but had one good game. He's somebody I see with a high floor, a high ceiling, and a low floor.
Yep.
I don't think he's the play this week.
Look, it's another one with a coaching change. Like, what do we expect? They've got some options there. The new coach could just as easily be impressed by Matt Kenyon. I know the flying toilet's off there jerking off that I've mentioned his boy Kenyon right now. But look, Glover's good, but we looked at him all through preseason when he played a lot more minutes, and he wasn't that good. And he's got red hair.
Yeah, you just can't trust him.
No.
Like when you talk about someone with the nickname the Glove, you expect him to be really good. You expect him to be some steals. He's just been chucking up turds. Yeah, he had a good game last week, but it's just 1 week, and I am willing to bet that he might go up into the 200s or into the 180s and stuff at some stage during this 6-game, 3-week stretch. But I think he's going to be right back to where he is shortly.
Yeah. Look, he's around 100K now, and like you said, man, you can't put a cat in the oven and make it a biscuit. Like, this guy, we've got time. It's not like he's going to go to the moon and back. And look, they're not ideal matchups either. I think we just park that one there and just keep a loose eye on him.
Mate, Sydney versus New Zealand. I would be quite excited about Adams against the Kiwis in this one. But yeah, look, we all know that situation isn't fantastic at the moment. Do you play Tyler Robertson this week with these injury concerns? I don't really know, but I don't love this for New Zealand either. Sydney have been pretty good defensively.
Yeah, look, Sydney have been solid against guards. Tyler Robertson, I don't think there's any world where you ever start him, Supercoach wise. So if you've got him on your bench and you're just using him for cash and he starts, great. But look, I think PJC is going to get his no matter what. Matt Mooney's going to get his no matter what. They've got an elite defender in Bull Qual. He's been going to the best player on the opposition. If you hold both PJC and Mooney, one of them's surely going to get off the chain.
No, I'm with you there. Melbourne versus Cairns. Again, I think Melbourne will take care of them. We didn't touch on the power forward and centre position for Melbourne. Now, Jack White, look, if you kept him, then absolutely. If you don't own him, would you bring him in over somebody like Matt Hertz? Would you bring him in over somebody like Cooks? Surely Jack White's nickname is like the Great White Shark or something.
He needs to start to like give himself one. I hope it sticks. But look, he was down. Yeah, 3-point celebration or something.
Yeah.
Right? Look, he was bad last week, but he was also not that bad. Like, he didn't score enough. So he still had like 10 or 11 rebounds, just missed a double-double with points. He was 2 of 9 from the field. They just didn't look for him, and it was a weird game. Like, Goulding was out there flopping around, acting like a tough guy, starting fights. I think it just threw everyone out.
It didn't look tough.
We had this conversation about White at the start of the year, and he struggled in games, I think it was 1 and 2, and then he came on for a couple of rounds in a row where he had 38, 40 Supercoach points. The turnovers hurt him this week as well. he still went up in cash. I would not be surprised if he came out in this one and just smashed it. So here's one. Have you ever held one player for an entire Supercoach season? Because I've had Jack White from the start.
Oh, I'd have to look back. I have in NRL. I absolutely have in NRL, but you've got a few more positions there, and it's a bit more viable. But I don't think I would have in NBL Supercoach last year. I'll have to look back. I wonder if you can even look back on this thing. But yeah, I'd have to look back. I didn't keep anybody for the period, but I have Lockie Ulbrich, Benchel, and Lepepe and White at the moment that I haven't traded out.
Look, there's a flashback, and I probably was pretty close to on this too. Flying Toilets talking about Bogut back in the old NBL fantasy days. He was a Supercoach stud or a fantasy stud. That was one you could hold.
Yeah, I think I held him through the whole year in NBA fantasy too.
Yeah. This guy's got a memory. Lucas Walker. You go back, there was David Barlow had a year in there. There was some studs when it came to fantasy. I remember getting stuck with Kevin White though for almost all the years. He was so shit you couldn't trade him out.
Like you with Fabian Krislovich last year.
Yeah, that was close to a whole year. Gross.
I think Jack White can cook against Sam Wardenberg as well in this one. So I also think I've had a lot of people looking at downgrading to get in a Matt Hurd or whether it be a Cooks or upgrade somebody to a Sobey. And again, we asked this question for 4 weeks at the start. What center would you get out of Lowe and Lee? Or is it just neither?
Well, for me, it's certainly neither. I think, look, the center spot over the next couple of weeks is probably going to be the weakest spot we've got, right? The guards we've talked about at length, there's some studs. The forwards, we're talking this week, you've got your Darius Days, if you want to go that way. You've got White, you've got Wardenberg this week, and then you're moving into some of these premium options. If you bring Matt Hurt down, if you've got Xavier Cooks, there's Cam Oliver we've talked about. We've had Trez. The center spot. So right now, who can we play over this stretch of Southeast Melbourne, New Zealand, and Melbourne with a good schedule? You can play Matt Hurt at centre. It's thin after that, isn't it?
Honestly, it's Matt Hurt at centre, and off air, you might have convinced me to go Hurt instead of Cooks just because of that flexibility to play him at centre. I'm still probably going to have to play a Lepepe, an Ulbrich, or a Menenga, or somebody like that somewhere. But at least I can choose Lepepe if I get Matt Hurt.
Yeah. Look, I'm leaning towards Hurt over Cooks because of that centre eligibility. And like we said before, when you pair two guys, that extra 50K allows me to have a more playable guy at forward. When you take a cumulative score between the two guys, I think it evens out, especially when you're probably going to captain PJC.
Whew. Honestly, I've had a little bit, while you were chatting, I've had a little bit look at the trade targets this week, and this might even change me back to Cooks. So let's have a look at some trade targets.
Targets acquired.
The most traded in player this week is Matt Hurt. Now, the people that they are trading out for Matt Hurt, Will Magnay, understandable, but he does have a double-double coming up after this week if you are high on Magnay. I'm just not high on jack jumpers in general. Trez to Matt Hurt, yeah, the schedule changes. Kelly Lepepe to Matt Hurt. Kelly Lepepe goes into a double with I think it's like a 30 break even. So, whereas I don't think he's going to drop cash, I think that there's the opportunity for him to, it's 38 break even. I think there's the opportunity that he just doesn't go up anymore. This is his ceiling.
I think he's found his level. But when you're talking about playable guys, like Hurt is playable. I don't think he's scored under 30 Supercoach points this year. He's been the focal point. If you're that new coach and you're watching their last couple of games, you look at this squad thinking, all right, this is some guy I want to incorporate into my systems. Lepepe, he's at the mercy of that squad. We talked about all preseason how they're just so deep. And look, he's been hyper productive. He's had some games, a couple of breakout games of late. But generally, he's only playing that 15 minutes.
Yeah. You know what? When I have a look at, and I think it was Pleb posted on Twitter that I think it was 20% of Matt Hurt's points have been from Derek Walton Jr.'s assists.
Yeah.
And I think you have,
Really.
and I think to quote you, Nathan Sobey makes nobody around him better but himself. And I am worried that, yes, Matt Hurt has been phenomenal. Yes, even if he hits his floor of 30-30 twice, he's still going to lose money this week. I do just wonder if with the shake-up, Matt Hurt just might not get... He's going to get enough ball. He might just not get enough quality ball going forward.
You ever watch that movie, Juana Man?
No.
Mate, great basketball movie. Bloke gets suspended for a lifetime from the NBA, decides he still wants to play, dresses up as a woman called Juana Man, and plays in the WNBA. And now this dude is just balling out, like scoring 60 a game, will not pass the ball. And this one time it like bounces off his knee, and it's an accidental assist. And the girl comes and slaps him on the ass and says, "Yeah, boy." And he's like, "Ha, I like this." Now he's like 10, 20 assists a game. I think like someone needs to go and slap Sobey on the ass, like so he likes it, and get him sharing that rock around.
True. I honestly think Sam McKinnon coming in as the head coach for a little bit has been good for him, and maybe just we could see a turnaround this season.
You're very hopeful.
Mate, also having a look at these players, it's just a whole lot of trade outs for Matt Hurt, which makes me start to think that Xavier Cooks might genuinely be a pod this week. But there's some guys trading in Max Darling. I would say this is to fund the Matt Hurt trade. And then right down, you've got to go all the way down to 1% of owners to go see people bringing in Matt Mooney. Now, I know a lot of people brought in Matt Mooney last week, but this is starting to scream.
Week, the ownership was?
Yeah, what was it?
6% ownership for Matt Mooney last week. It was pottish.
I'm starting to think that maybe by going blokes like Matt Mooney, Sobey, and Cooks, instead of maybe a Matt Hurt where there's a little bit of uncertainty, and the next most brought in guys are Max Darling and Angus Glover. So maybe not bringing in Matt Hurt and Max Darling could be the difference between boosting up.
Oh, man.
Cool. Sick.
Yep.
Man, you guys run me around by Amflight. Sure, we do.
Yeah. You ain't wrong, man. You are on that fence and back this side over that side. Look, I'm sticking with Hurt. I love your logic. I hate your Sobey call. But look, I'm just not as high on Xavier Cooks. And I've said it every single week, even though he's been scoring 48. So do with that what you will.
Nope. That brings us out of trade talk, and let's have a little bit of a chat about the captains. It's a little bit more open than it was last week.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
I just want to bring Oh Captain, My Captain back.
I think you do. I'm not feeling this one. I really want to feel a little Robin Williams in the pod.
Yeah, cool. Amplight. Can I say that I still think Sobey is better bring-in than Mooney? You've just got to listen to the whole show to get where we're going to land at the end. Mate, your number one, let's pick three captains. Okay. Parker Jackson Cartwright's number one, correct?
Yeah. Cooks is number two.
And then Daylight for second?
Third?
Days? Kel?
Ooh. Well, I just don't think you've got those guys if you've got Cooks or PJC, because you wouldn't have them already. It's tying up a trade. Hurt would have to be a third, but it's a distant third.
I think so. I think you're trying to outthink the room if you're captaining Matt Hurt. I think like you're maybe even Cooks. No, maybe not Cooks. I think if you're captaining anyone but Parker Jackson Cartwright or Cooks, you're just hoping they get injured.
Yeah. Look, the sports guys in the chat saying, is Delhi a captain? Look, I think this is a week where it could be quite open. I think PJC scores well. I think Cook scores well. I think you won't be disappointed in captaining either of them. But I also wouldn't be surprised if someone else pops up with a ripper week and matches it. Maybe, like, if you were to captain PJC and say Delhi outscored him by 5 points over the round, you wouldn't be upset. You know,
But
I
it's
don't
just,
think you're going to miss out by much.
yeah, it's just not worth it. Like,
No.
I think the fact that Parker Jackson Cartwright will probably score 90 points this week is just enough to captain him. I'm
Yeah.
okay with getting Pottish later on,
Yeah.
just not when Parker Jackson Cartwright's on a
And
double.
it's not a pod week. There's not anything that really stands out. And we did talk in the injury report. There's no Mitch McCarron. There's no Mojave King. Lopez is a game time decision. All I'm hearing is 40 minutes a game for Parker Jackson Cartwright and Matt Mooney. And I like that. That tips him over the edge with Cooks, where we know, look, last week, Gorgon still tinkering with those rotations. You got to half time and you thought, oh, God, why would I have picked Cooks? Like, he didn't even play in the second quarter and he wasn't in foul trouble.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, Cooks. I've just been burnt so much this year by not owning Cooks that makes me want to rectify that. Mate, should we just answer some of these questions? We're going to go through them. We've been going an hour. We've probably got
Yep.
10 minutes worth of questions here, so let's get through them quickly.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
Mate, I think you and I sit on different ends of the fence here, but Supercoach with DR is asking Sobe versus Delhi this week.
You know what? I don't think we're that far apart here. I would go Sobe out of those two. I think Delhi's probably safer, but I think Sobe has much bigger upside. I think that 60 grand you save is probably going to tip you over the edge elsewhere on your roster.
No, I like it. Do you think that the sports guy is making the right decision in bringing in Delhi for Adams? He can't decide between the two. I think
like
that's
it.
pretty good, but I'm not 100% sure it's worth a trade if you hear that Adams is playing. The problem is Adams plays Friday 8:30, and there's 2 games on Thursday this week.
Mm.
Jeez, tomorrow night's going to be an absolute
Load it up.
rip snorter for me. But I do think that. Look, yeah,
This
you're
is-
probably bringing in Delhi because you haven't heard about whether Adams is playing by the time that happens.
Yeah. Look, if it was just a straight, who do you bring in out of these two? I'd 100% go Delhi. Where it gets hard is if you already hold Adams. But they both have good schedules, and Delhi's schedule is probably better over the next however many rounds. I think you'd be happy with Delhi. And no Shea Illy makes it an even better proposition.
Mate, Paul Vards, his trades this week are Montrez to Cooks, Lepepe to Gavo, Magne to White. Doesn't have enough money for White. It doesn't have enough money for Hurt, so White it is. Is it fade Cooks and get Hurt to save some money next week? Or if you have the flexibility to do this, do you just... I have a completely... Let me get this one. Because I'm thinking of you don't go Lepepe to Glover. And I think you will still have enough money to go Montrez to Hurt and Magne to White. You save a boost this week and your team still looks extremely strong.
Yeah, I like that. And just reading that question, I'm questioning what he has at center already.
Yeah, and like, is it playing a Lockie Aldrich or a Menenga? Like, Magne might... There is a world where you can talk me into holding Magne another week. At 314K, he has been averaging 31, has a 3-round average of 44 with a break even of 25 on a single. I don't think he loses money, and then he's got 2 doubles in a row going forward. There is merit to holding Magne for 1 week?
Well, if you hold him for 1 week, you're going to hold him through the next couple of
Yeah.
weeks for the doubles, aren't you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think like everybody's panic trading him out, like and not looking at the fact that he does have a double going into next week.
Yeah.
And when we open up next week, whereas not a captain option in his current form, he's definitely a starting option, and his center forward eligibility gives you some flexibility. Like he could easily score as many as Matt Hurt next week, like blokes like that. So I think it's not, you don't throw the toys out of the cot automatically with Will Magne. There needs to be some thought going into it.
Yeah. You're not going to throw the kid out with the bathwater, but you really need to be conscious that you've got playable guys at either forward or center on your bench, so you can hold. Like it's a lot to hold a 300k guy on your bench and expect to have something that's playable. That's the kicker.
Mate, Supercoach with DR's on fire. He loved your "this kid's a fetus" chat. So, but let's answer Legend 24's question, and he's talking about going Adams to Sobey. I think this is the play if you have Jalen Adams in your team at the moment.
Yeah. Look, I think there's enough doubt to jump off Adams. I haven't seen anything official. Just some rumors in the chat that he's 50-50, might not train, but he did come off the bench last week. He didn't play a lot of minutes. We're expecting the Kings to have a pretty easy run this week. Maybe they just hold back on him.
No, they could. They don't need to play him the way that Sydney have been playing. So
and Robertson's been doing a pretty solid job. They have Liafa, they have Sean Bruce. They can manage without him.
I'm going to answer this one from Zanetti in the chat. I would trade out Lepepe before Prather for a lot of reasons. I know Lepepe will score more than Prather in the next 2 weeks, but Prather is going to generate some valuable funds in the next couple of weeks. I think Lepepe is at value. I think best case scenario, he hits 200k, but Prather could hit, like, genuinely could be a 300k player.
Yeah. And look, there's a few more guys in the chat down here. Like Logan, Casey Prather is going to be difficult to hold, but I know you're high in Matrix. And then it keeps going. Here's your boy Tog. Casey will be pricey in his approaching double if you don't plan on having him sitting on the bench generating cash. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, yeah, he will be pricey when he hits doubles. That's why I think you either own Casey Prather now or last week when he had a -2 break even.
Yep.
I don't think you bring in Casey Prather if you don't own him now. I think you've missed the boat, and maybe I just need to stop the Casey Prather chat because I got on a little bit early. I definitely didn't adopt as early as you would have hoped, but yeah, he does have a ceiling of going up 50k, but that's playing through singles. I think if you got him 2 weeks ago, he had a ceiling of going up 120k to hold through the singles. So, look, yeah, I don't think Casey Prather is a buy now, but I think that he was a buy 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
What do you think of starting Lowe, Olbrich, or Menenga? And I'm going to throw one more in for Benedict Teo and ask Lepepe as well, because I think that they have some real merit, and I think there's a lot of guys that are going to be owning these guys.
Start Lowe, Olbrich, or Menenga.
Or Lepepe.
Tough. Man. Look, Lowe had an absolute game last one after, he wanted to fight everyone. Olbrich is down on form. I'd probably be going Lowe, Menenga, Olbrich in this one.
Lowe, Menenga, Olbrich. Okay, cool. I actually think Olbrich has more upside than Menenga. There you go.
More upside, but I think Menenga has the more guaranteed role in the minutes. We know Menenga's going to play that 23 to 25 minutes a game. We've been seeing at the start of the season Olbrich playing 20, and that's reduced over the last few weeks. So that's what bumps Menenga up for me.
Mate, a center for sub 150K, as Flying Toilets asking. I know you started. I hope that you'd done some research on this one. Do you know of anyone sub 150K at center that you'd consider bringing in at this stage?
Oh, God. Bringing in. What's Gak worth? He's going in a horrible schedule.
AK is more than that, but
Yeah.
Gorjok is there at
Yeah.
127.
No, thanks.
There's not one.
Yeah. Look, I really don't know. I think 150K-ish is probably Ulbrich. He'd be around there. Menenga's around there. There's nothing coming to mind that I actually like. It's tough.
If you squint hard enough, Almanza might go up in cash.
Yeah.
Heading into 5 doubles. I know he had a stinker last game, but if you
Freddie
range
Gillespie at
by
150 yet?
no. You
Give it
you
a
have
week or two?
Archie Woodhill, Luca Gates, Gorjok Jack, and Izan Almanza in the duels. There's not a lot of guys. There's Rocco Zakarski. Honestly, I'm not seeing anything I really want for 150K or under. Honestly,
No.
probably Rocco or Almanza. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. And both of those they're not great options, certainly. They're not even good options.
Oh, Miko Lima has got a good one. He is thinking about bringing in Jordan Hunter this week.
I like that.
That's
He had 20 and 9 last game, and all of a sudden they realised the bloke's 6'11" and can play. He screens hard, he rolls hard, but we do know that a lot of his points come off Derek Walton Jr.
Well, everybody's points come off Derek Walton Jr. He's the only man in that team that knows how to pass it. So
Yeah, but Asobi Bricks is good as a pass for someone who rebounds like Hunter, so it could be a play.
mate, Jonah Bolden bounce back week for the toilet truth bomb. I thought I might not answer that. Mate, Malik Lewis on the bench. I've given my opinion on Malik Lewis. What do you think?
I like it. I think the upside's there. We put that caveat on there with a new coach, but I don't even know when he starts. If it's another week of Sam McKinnon, I really like it. Malik Lewis has been starting. I think the upside outweighs everything with him. I like his game, and he does have a Supercoach friendly game.
Mate, he did start that last game before McKinnon took in as well, and that was with Derek Walton and Sobey.
Yeah,
starting. Like, I think he is just the starter in this one. Whether Angus Glover comes in or they decide to do other things, even with the new coach, I think Malik Lewis will be starting.
Yeah, and if you're gonna put him next to Angus Glover, I think the eye test says that this guy's the starter.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, that just about wraps us up. We were planning to keep this an hour to an hour and 15, and here we are. It's actually a bit less once you take our 5-minute intro out, so we did okay. But any final words going into this week?
And I'm probably more confused than when we start. I'm starting to half get on the Sobey train, but I'm going to slap myself and wake up to it myself. But look, huge round coming up. Can't wait for it. 2 games tomorrow night. Early lockout.
Early lockout. Be prepared. I'm thinking Sobey and Cooks could nearly be pods this week. Honestly.
Yeah.
So look. Do with that what you will. But look, we'll be here next week. We'll be here on Monday again. And you've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. Cheerio.